want to remind everybody that everything I teach, you can read for free by going here to my website in a free ebook called New Thoughts for Actors. So if you'd like to hear more about any particular concept that I bring up, I promise you there's a chapter in my free ebook about that topic, but you can ask any questions you want about it. It's just that in this workshop, I won't have time in every workshop to go over all the concepts I share, because I want to make sure to leave you guys plenty of time to perform. And Ashley's going to be up first, but that's my understanding. But first, I'm going to talk a little bit more. Basically, for anybody new to what I teach, basically what I share is that acting's fucking easy. And it's because I define acting as I'm talking about film right now, not theater. But acting on film, I define as behaving as if it's really happening. That's it. And that's just called playing pretend. It doesn't have to be real. It's fake. You just behave as if it's really happening. And on film, you're not supposed to control your performance and plan the way it'll look, because the camera has to capture spontaneous human behavior. Movies are made of the best lucky accidents that happen on set. You don't create your performance in a TV show or movie, the editor does. Your job is to just play spontaneously in front of the camera so that the editor has lots of delicious moments to choose from. And I think we can all agree a lot of our favorite actors never trained at all. So it's not about learning how to act. Acting's easy. It's just really uncomfortable. You feel really uncomfortable when you act, and you always will, and that's fine. Your heart's racing. Your stomach is full of butterflies. That's called excitement. Judi Dench calls it her batteries. And it's that racing heart that makes magic happen in the scene. I like to say it plugs me into my higher power. And then I feel as if my higher power or the magic of acting guides me through the scene. And then however it goes, it was meant to go. Even if it goes badly, I figure, okay, good. It was meant to go badly for my greatest good. Somehow I chose this, and I don't need to know exactly why. But everything that's happening happens as it's meant to happen is the healthy way to look at your art. So it's okay that we're wildly uncomfortable, but what I help actors with is to get out of their own way, or in other words, to get rid of the anxiety we feel. Some people call that nervous. I don't allow that word nervous, because nervous is just anxiety mixed with excitement. The excitement's good, then the anxiety is bad. So in order to get control over your anxiety, you have to know that all feelings are thoughts. Okay? Feelings aren't facts. Everything is caused by thoughts. So a negative feeling like anxiety is actually your ego. Your ego is the half of you that wants you to fail. That voice in your head that's saying you're no good, you're not prepared, don't mess up these words, impress them. So please imagine you move the negative voice outside your head and see it as a vulture squawking on your shoulder, because now you can say what you need to say to your vulture to let it know, I'm not interested in discussing this right now, I'm acting. So if I was doing a scene like you guys are tonight, my vulture would be saying a lot of stuff to me right now about how I don't feel like being here and I'm not ready and I'm not a good actor. You know, we all have a vulture. It's how you deal with it that determines your experience in life. So I would be saying things to my vulture based on what he's saying to me. And I'm going to go ahead and say some of what I call actor affirmations, and they're all in my free ebook. I'm going to say what I would be saying to my vulture, and you guys out there can pretend you're saying this to your vulture, okay? So I release and destroy my need to control this scene tonight. I'm not strong enough to control it. Whenever I try, it doesn't work. So instead, I'm going to ask my higher power to guide me through it. And however it goes was meant to go. I'm going to take it from where I am. So however I'm feeling, however prepared I am, is a fine place to begin this scene. When the scene begins, I'm just going to approach it like an improv, like it's really happened to me for the first time. I release and destroy my need to be an actor. I'll let the other people here be actors and have all those responsibilities. I'm not an actor. I'm just here to be me and enjoy playing in these circumstances. Now, if I was doing a drama scene tonight, acting in a film drama is a mirror of real life. So you don't want to get involved in anything that you're not really doing in real life. So that means I would remind myself how I live my real life. And I do that with these 3 reminders. Number 1, that I'm not going to make any choices, but instead, and more importantly, I'm going to allow choices to happen to me. Number 2, The words in the script, I'm not going to color them. I'm not going to deliver them. I'm just going to throw them away. I'm just going to throw the words away. I have faith I have the character's thoughts and feelings. That's what matters. And the words I'll just throw away. And number 3, that I hope they, Jack, and everyone watching feels so fucking uncomfortable watching me do this scene tonight. And I'm going to do that by not taking care of the scene at all, but instead and only being interested in my experience of behaving as if it's really happening. If I was doing a comedy, and we have one comedy tonight, I think, I would say, look, I want to be funny. There's a big difference between want and need. That's why we say I release my need. I want to be funny, but I release and destroy my need to be funny. I'm just here to tickle myself with my own genuine human behavior, because that's what a comedy is. And lastly, I release and destroy my need to impress these people here tonight. As a matter of fact, if I wanted to hate them, I could. So you know what? I give myself permission to just hate all these assholes here. So fuck everyone. Who gives a shit what they think? Wouldn't it be great if that's what you were putting in your head as you walk into the audition room instead of what pops into your head out of habit, which is something more like, oh shit, I better get this right. Now I'm going to just ask the actors that are here waiting if anybody has any questions about my actor affirmations, what I just talked about. It's the first chapter of my website, and they're the most important thing I teach since acting's so easy. So I'm curious, and by the way, if any of you have a question, you can wave your hand in front of your camera, or you can turn your mic on and say, hey, I have a question. But basically what I'm wondering is if any of you have something your vulture's saying and you don't know what to say back to her, or if you've been saying the affirmations but you wish they worked better. Okay, well, nobody has a question, so I'm gonna move on. I wanna talk about the secret to all acting, because it is so important to remind ourselves that every time we act, and that is that you are not here to show us what the scene will look like in the finished product. Because all that will do is make you need to get it word perfect, keep it moving, and make it look like a nice, smooth, polished surface, and it doesn't work. Because it's impossible to act when you're doing that. You can't behave if it's really, you can't behave as if it's really happening if you're showing what it's going to look like in the finished product, controlling the scene using a bunch of result-oriented techniques you learned in some class somewhere. So well, I like to describe it, how to approach the scene like it's the 9th take, as if you've already done the scene 8 times and the director's thrilled with it and he has what he needs and he says, I'm done. I'm never going to look at this next take. So since we're doing it again and I'll never look at this take, whatever, have fun, I don't care. And then what happens? When the editor watches the 9th take, she's always like, finally, something I can use. Because again, the great movies are made of lucky accidents caught on film. So how do I approach an audition of it as if it's the 9th take? Well, I just have faith it's the 9th take. And the way I like to do that is that right before I go into an audition, I'll kind of pretend I've already done the audition and I'm about to go back in and do it again. And the director says to me, and in my mind, I say it to myself as if I'm the director. He says, oh my God, Jack, thank you so much for all those beautiful choices you brought in today. They were perfect for the scene. And I have them all on film perfectly, and I'm going to use them. So since we're done, I have what I need, and I'm never going to look at this next take. I guess you don't have to do any of that brilliant stuff you brought in. Gosh, I guess just behave as if it's really happening. Just want to surprise yourself. Take all the time you want, and you have permission to do it badly. I'm never going to look at this take. And then action, I do the audition. And the reason why it's the secret to acting is it's the only time we will give ourselves permission to behave as if it's really happening. When an actor isn't behaving as if it's really happening, they're just behaving like an actress with a great responsibility to show what the scene will look like. It's not fun, it's joyless, and it's not even acting. Does anybody here in my workshop have a question about the concept of the 9th take, how to do it, or why it's important? Okay, do any of you guys have any things that's just bothering you in general about acting, or anything in general that's coming up when you act? Hi, yes. You'll want to unmute your mic. Yeah.
Thank you. I had a question in regards to the comment that I do get, which is raise the stakes. when someone says, just raise the stakes, and then you just try to do it, but you still, I don't know, the way you are or whatever, you just take your time, but then you get that comment again, so it becomes your vulture.
Okay. Do you find that that happens a lot at your auditions?
Yeah, actually.
Okay. And are you auditioning for film or theater when it happens?
Film.
Okay. Um, you know, gosh, it's interesting because, it's possible that you have some anxiety about, here's how I'll put it. I auditioned for a movie where I had to drink poison by mistake and die in front of the camera, and I didn't rehearse it at all. I just memorized it and did my scene comprehension, and then I behaved as if it was really fucking happening. And I booked the part, and the director let me watch everyone else's auditions. Really, what he did was he said, "You can watch yours," and I secretly watched the others because I was so curious. And no one else really did it. They did it, or they dipped their toe in it, or they skipped it. And to that, I'd say it's just, as an actor, you'll want to take ownership of the circumstances, meaning you're going to behave as if it's really fucking happening. And so I don't want to speak to your experience because I haven't seen you act before, but it's possible that you may not be taking ownership of it and instead kind of thinking, well, this is what I this is what I'm comfortable doing in front of a camera. But I don't know. In the end, you want to
That
just give
makes
yourself
sense.
permission.
Thank you
Say
so
that
much.
again?
Yeah.
Okay. In the end, you want to just give yourself permission to fucking hate everyone in the room and be there for you, for your joyful experience of, I get to act today. What a thrill. So in general, I don't say, oh, worry about what they're thinking, but I because you say it comes up a lot, it's worth examining. Does anybody else have any questions before Ashley starts? I don't think anyone does. Are you? Okay. I brought you back by mistake, and that's how that works. Hi, you are first, aren't you?
I am. Yes, I am.
Okay. And do you have any questions or anything before we start? You're doing Heidi, correct?
I am. Yes, I'm doing.
Now, Heidi, for everyone who doesn't know her, is in a filmed half-hour comedy. And Heidi is, it says, entering her roommate's bedroom. It says Heidi nods, then enters in a filmed half-hour comedy. So, you have the first line, so I'll just let you begin when you're ready, and we'll do the scene as if this is the audition.
Okay. Do you have a minute?
Not really.
Okay.
What? No, what?
I'm not sure how to say this, so I'm just gonna say it.
So say it.
I'm trying to figure out the best way to phrase it.
Just say it.
It's just a little uncomfortable. I need to find the right words.
Okay, how about I don't have time for this?
No, that's not it.
Speak!
You're a twat.
Wow, harsh.
Yeah, that's why I needed the right words.
Why am I a twat?
Yeah, right. I should probably explain.
Yeah, it'd be helpful.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you telling. I don't appreciate you telling people that I'm a limited person. I'm not limited. I'm special.
That's a way to put it.
Right there. That was underfooted.
Underhanded.
Again, just enough with the condensation.
Oh, I'm sorry. You want me to stop turning into water?
You know what I mean, and I know what you mean, and it was mean.
So what do you want me to do about it?
I want you to stop.
Noted. I'll stop.
You will?
Yeah.
Really? Because I don't want you to stop unless you really. Because I don't want you to stop unless you really want to. You know.
What do you want from me?
Can I think about it and get back to you?
No.
Okay. Good talk.
Good. So Very good. I'm going to ask you now what your experience was. And the reason why is that I think it's your experience, the actor's experience, that matters, not the audience's. Because in my opinion, a lot of actors go to what I consider to be fear-based and result-oriented acting classes where they're trained to do their art and then be like, well, how was I? Was I good? Was I bad? I don't know. And the truth is, I believe that we do know. Because if you have an experience where you're a vulture squawking a bunch of result-oriented nonsense and concerns and fears, that makes behaving as if it's really happening impossible. So it's a bad experience for you. So it's a bad experience for the audience because the audience can only have the experience you have.
Yeah.
Whereas if you have an experience where your vulture's silent, so it's easy to just behave as if this is really happening, then that's a good experience for you. So it's a good experience for the audience. That's why I tell actors, you've got to be selfish, only interested in your own experience, because any part of you that's worried what they're thinking out there is a part of you that's not back here in your own selfish shit, having a rich, surprising emotional experience, thereby giving the audience a rich, surprising emotional experience. So when I say, what was your experience of that? Did anything come up that you don't care for? Another way to say it would be, was there anything your vulture was squawking?
I think my vulture wanted to, it wanted to get too close, but I told it to back away, and I wanted to have fun.
And what did it, I'm sorry, I'm confused. What did your vulture say to you? What, I don't understand what you mean by it wanted to get too close.
I guess, okay, so what it said was, are you sure? Are you sure?
And I'm talking to your vulture now. Vulture, what do you mean by are you sure? Are you sure of what?
Are you sure you can do this?
Are you sure you can, when you say do this, are you talking about acting in general? Or what does she mean when she says, are you sure you can do this?
Acting, I think.
Oh, okay. Well, so your vulture saying, are you sure you can act? To which you would say, you wouldn't say, yes, I am. Because your vulture, the half of you that wants you to fail, will say no. Say, you know what? I release and destroy my need to know if I can act this. And I release and destroy my need to act it well. But also, I release and destroy my need to be an actress. I'll let people worry about that. I just want to be me and enjoy playing in the circumstances. And then she shuts up about whether you're sure or not, or if you can do it. Because your vulture isn't saying the truth. Our vulture is saying what it knows we will currently listen to. So by saying I release and destroy my need to know if I can do it, that's letting your vulture know, next time I act, you're not going to get away with saying that. I have to open my window a little wider because I'm getting hit by a ray of light from the Madonna song, but not
right.
oh, not nearly as catchy. Okay, so now that's there's one thing. Then you said your vulture said that my vulture want. You said your vulture said my vulture wanted me to get close.
No, my vulture wanted to get too close to me. So you know how you do the vulture like here? Mine wanted to just like really get in there.
Okay, now your vulture isn't a real thing. Okay, and our vulture is always sitting right on our shoulder, right up against our head. It's always right here. So what exactly was your vulture saying? Because what you want to do is deal with what she said, not what you guess she wants. Your vulture wants you to be miserable. We all have a half of us that literally wants us to be in darkness. And by choosing the light, we live a joyful life in every moment. That's why you want to do the affirmations all day long whenever your vulture squawks and not wait for an audition to start controlling your vulture. Would you have any guess as to what she was saying that made you feel as if your vulture was getting close?
No, I don't.
Okay, now it may be that it's nothing, or it may be that your vulture said, oh, you can't control me because I'm closer than other people's vultures. Or you control me because I'll get this close to you. Because vulture doesn't want you to change your thought patterns, doesn't want you to take control of your thoughts. So we'll say things so that you'll give up on the affirmations, but don't. Anything feel better than usual based on what you've been trying tonight or working with me on or anything? I don't remember. Have we worked before together?
No, but thank you for having me today.
You're welcome. Anything feel better than usual, or would you say that's about how your auditions tend to go?
Yeah, I would say that's yeah, in the same realm, I would say.
Okay, is there anything else you would like to share about your experience of doing the scene?
No, it was a thrill to work with you.
Oh, thank you. Well, I mean, the thing is, I have no notes for you, and I don't even need to see it again. It was just a delightful filmed half-hour comedy audition. It was just a pure delight. I don't. You're so sweet. I mean, it was a very good
Thank
example.
you, Jack. That means so much to me. Thank you.
Well,
Thank you.
what's coming up for you right now? Is there anything that's, because I said whenever we get emotional, sometimes things are
Yeah.
coming up and it can be an interesting breakthrough.
Um. I think we're in quarantine and we're all just trying our best as actors to be better. What can we do to put ourselves out there, learn as much information? And I've just felt the weight of all of that recently, and just to hear kind words coming from your mouth that I'm such a fan
Okay.
of your career. So
Oh, thank you. Let me
that's
tell you something. You
yeah.
said some things that I love and some things I didn't really love for your well-being. Now,
Okay.
our thoughts create our reality. So that's why I tell actors, you got to be real careful with your thoughts. Now, some people use words to mean one thing, some people use them to mean another. So if I offer you another way to put your experience, it's me offering you a reality where there's less chance for failure, But anyway, I love that you said, I want to put myself out there. Because as artists, all of us should be doing that all the time with no concept of how good it is, The important thing is you're making art, and by making art, by doing what you love in front of others, you remind them of the nature of love. I mean, we are all angels in disguise when we do what we love for other people. But then you said, we're all trying to, get better and learn as much as you can. What I'd say is there's nothing more you need to learn. And because again, film acting is the easiest thing in the world, you know? But the way an artist grows is by doing their art all the time. So in other words, that's why I said, I love that you said, I want to put myself out there. In other words, I want to do my art, because when you do your art, you get better at your art. When you surround yourself by other artists who you respect, you guys grow together, and you start creating content together or putting up a show, or, and this is how the power of partnership, your career can grow, either in a group or just by doing your own thing. So you get better and better. But the way that, what you do creates more of it in your life. So being in class creates more being in class. So in other words, for you, picking up more information about acting just creates more picking up information about acting. But I think you weren't even really saying that, were you?
Not quite. What I meant was all the lives, seeing casting directors. I mean, gathering as much information about the business. So the learning of the inner workings more in the business,
Okay,
and trying
what I'd say to that is, there is no secret to know, because the business doesn't work in a certain way. So in other words, there's so many different ways to get where you want to go. And any casting director or any person who says, you must take my networking, branding seminar, business building seminar, because this is how all the greats do it, is a liar. Because people have gotten to great success by sitting in their kitchen filming themselves, or by being in a theater, there's no right way. So, but the truth about it is, when you're doing what you love as often as you can for the love of it, you grow as an artist, and the universe sends you gifts. So I've gotten a lot of jobs from my really stupid minute-long videos on Instagram and YouTube. I've booked big jobs from them because the universe is watching. So don't sit around and wait for an acting workshop to act. Find a way to, an outlet to act all the time. But anyway, again, beautiful work, great example of filmed half-hour comedy where you don't muscle and make choices on every line, but you can muscle some moments to tickle yourself, but then some moments you want to just see what happens. Mm-hmm. I also thought you did a great job of a concept that I talk about, where you're not rushing down a hallway to get these lines out, but instead you break down those walls and see the scene as a big playing field where anything can happen. These are just the words, but anything can happen in terms of thoughts, feelings, sound, movement. And I would just say we can all go further towards approaching the scene like an improv, imagining that it's full of magical blank spaces that the universe could fill with surprises. And, that's how a scene gets filled with all these moments that later when you watch it, you go, I don't remember doing that. Oh my God, I don't remember my eyes twitching like that or scratching my nose like that. And so you were doing that, and I applaud it. Sure, just remember that is what books work, those magical moments of surprise. Okay, great
Thank
work.
you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
you're welcome. Up next, we have Leah. Here you are. And you're going to be doing, oh, I got both of you again. How did that happen? Hold on a second, I'm still learning. Hello. Now, if I'm correct, you're doing Sarah, right? The doctor?
Correct, yes.
Okay. Yeah, this is an hour-long drama. And Sarah works at a hospital where her ex-boyfriend also works, and she doesn't like how he's treating a patient, so she decides to intervene.
Okay.
So you have the first line, so just begin whenever you're ready.
Why don't you turn the case over to me?
What?
I'll take it off your hands for you, since you can't seem to handle it.
Who says I can't handle it?
It certainly sounded that way.
No, okay, so you're spying on me now.
It's hard to avoid that obnoxious voice of yours.
Some would call it sexy.
Someone would.
So I thought that you and me were just going to be two colleagues, right, who happen to
Well,
work.
this isn't about you and your inflated sense of irresistible charm, okay? That woman needs serious medical attention, and she needs to be treated with respect.
The woman's a whack job. She's pretending to be pregnant.
It's called false pregnancy.
Okay, good. I'm going to stop you there. And I forgot to mention to everybody, you may not get through the whole scene, but let's talk about your experience of that. Very good, by the way. Anything come up you don't care for? Anything your vulture was squawking about?
Yes. So it's funny. It's the two words of someone would. When you say, "Oh, someone consider that I'm sexy," and I know that there's you should feel like, "Oh, yeah, right. Okay, I'm sure someone would." Like you're making fun, right? But when I said it, it didn't feel that it came out the way it's supposed to, I guess.
Well, now a scene is supposed to be different every time we do it and different on every actor who does it.
Right.
So there's like a million ways to do a scene. There are correct circumstances, but they're always obvious. You're a doctor. You don't like how he's treating a patient. But how the lines come out is supposed to surprise you and be different every time. And the thoughts and the feelings should be allowed to be different every time. And then the words you just throw away and let them be colored by something bigger than you. Now, it's hard, though, to know, because I'm not in your head, whether your vulture said, was that the right way to say that line, meaning your vulture wants you to think your job is to control the scene, or whether in that moment you became aware, oh, I don't feel like I'm behaving as if it's really happening.
The second one for sure.
Okay, well, when you become aware that you're not behaving as if it's really happening, that means that your vulture was saying something to you, something that made you feel pressure or responsibility. Do you think you might be able to know what your vulture was saying that made it harder to behave as if it's really happening?
That, oh my gosh, you're just saying words. You're not really feeling it.
Okay, thank you. Does that sound like a teacher you worked with, the quote, "You're not really feeling it"? I'm curious where you got the concept, "You're not really feeling it."
Yeah, it does.
Okay. That voice in your head that's saying you're not really feeling it might sound like that teacher, but it's you.
Okay.
She handed you the baton and you're still running with it. Simply give yourself permission to hate that teacher. You won't really hate her, but until you give yourself permission to hate that teacher, you'll use her words, even if they're loving, to beat yourself up. See, I don't have a thing called really feeling it. I get surprised by thoughts and feelings in front of a rolling camera, yes, but acting's fake. It's not real.
Right.
It's a very dangerous word to use, the word real, because acting isn't real. You're behaving as if it's really happening. You have faith you're feeling it. So when it comes to thoughts and feelings, because feelings are caused by thoughts, when it comes to thoughts, I don't say have the character's thoughts. I say have faith you have the character's thoughts. You don't really, you could be thinking about your lunch, what you're doing after lunch and book the job. They can't read your mind. But by having faith you have the character's thoughts, you do invite the universe to send you gifts of interesting thoughts, images, and concepts, and therefore feelings, right? So basically, what you want to say your vultures, I release and destroy my need to be really feeling it.
Okay.
Because the truth about acting is if you say it, it's true. If you just say it, it's true. So if I say I'm a rodeo clown on the weekends, it's true. Isn't that amazing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anything else your vulture is saying?
I think actually the vulture was more quiet this time because that really helped when
Okay,
you
so
just
well,
take
sometimes I like
ownership.
to ask. Sometimes I like to ask, did anything feel better than usual based on what you're working on with me? So continue. Say that again. I spoke over you.
It's okay. I believe that comment of my previous question helped quiet the vulture, which was just take ownership. If you want to take an hour, I mean, I wouldn't take an hour, but if it would happen that I would take more time, who cares if that's too slow, you know? So I think just that sentence, take
Good. So
ownership,
I
really
think what you're
resonated.
saying is that today your vulture couldn't say raise the stakes. The stakes aren't high enough because of what we said to her, and she'll never get away with saying it again as long as you say that affirmation. And didn't that make the scene easier? And I thought it was a very nice scene, but I did feel that your vulture was squawking, and it made, around the time you mentioned it, it made it harder for you to behave as if it's really happening.
Mm-hmm.
Now they don't know that. They just go, I like her, but not this role, you know, but we want them to go, I like her and she should be one of the 5 girls we're considering. And to do that, you really got to get that vulture to completely shut up. But sometimes what our vulture does is it doesn't just scream the really mean things like you're a lousy actress. It whispers the things that just make us feel pressure. Like, okay, remember the lines, or okay, it's your turn to act, do the scene, you know? And how does that make you feel? If it makes you feel pressure and responsibility, it's your enemy.
Yeah, for sure.
So I did feel a bit that you started to feel responsibility to show what the scene will look like, and that made it harder. So I want to do an exercise that gets rid of the moment when the scene begins and you're under pressure to act. I'm just going to talk to you about your life so you can remember how you really think and communicate. Okay. In the middle of us talking, I'm going to say start the scene, and the goal is, without looking at the script, to jump right into the scene, but bring right with you into the scene how you really think and communicate so that I can't tell the scene even began. Do you follow?
Mm-hmm.
In order to do this, let go of any way you ever thought to say these words, because we already saw that anyway. And instead, bring how you really think and communicate right into the scene. What did you have for lunch today? What did you have for lunch today? This is for you to remember how you really think and communicate.
I had to think for a moment.
Well, look at that. Look at the silence that's left when a person is thinking on their feet. And every scene is a scene about somebody thinking on their feet. So now you really learned, wow, I mustn't rush through scenes.
Yeah.
But anyway, what were some street names in the neighborhood you grew up in?
The name of the street?
Any street.
I moved so many times. Quinta do Paris.
And a hobby that meant a lot to you as a kid?
Was tennis.
Any teacher that taught it really well or that meant a lot to you?
I would remember the teachers, so I'm guessing not.
Yeah. Any teacher you really didn't like in grade school or high school?
Oh, for sure, yes.
How did it feel being in that teacher's class?
Horrible.
Start the scene.
Why don't you just give me the case?
What?
Yeah, just give it to me, or I'll take it from your hands. It seems that you can't handle it.
I'm sorry, who said I can't handle it?
It certainly sounded that way.
Oh, okay, so you're spying on me, huh?
I'm listening to your obnoxious voice. That's what it is.
Some would call it sexy.
Someone would.
Sorry, I thought that you and me were going to be 2 colleagues who happen to work together in the same hospital.
No, look, this is not about you and not about that irresistible charm you think you have, okay? This woman, she needs attention, and you need to treat her with respect.
Was that easier or harder than the first time?
It was much easier.
Was it more fun or less fun than the first time?
More fun.
Well, that's the great thing about this workshop. Whenever actors have a beautiful adjustment, and that was a gorgeous drama audition, they always say it was easier and more fun, and that's because acting is easier and more fun than you thought. And if it's better and it's easier, that means it's not better because we worked on it or you picked up a new technique. If it's better and easier, that means it's better actually because you stopped being involved in things you don't need to be involved in, things that make your acting harder and not as good, which was anything your vulture was squawking about. Because I think you'll agree that that time you had 0 vulture squawking, right? Where'd you go? That time, would you agree that you had 0 vulture squawking?
0.
Okay, so here's how easy acting is. Next time you act, just say to your vulture, no, I release and destroy my need for whatever you're saying, even if it sounds true. And then you'll do what you just did so easily and so well.
Thank you.
Yeah. If you watch that back, you'd be, I don't remember doing that. I don't remember making that face. What I would just say is, I love that you wanted to feel, and the actor must want to feel, but remember the character doesn't.
Right.
So there's a seed of every emotion in your belly. For this scene, there's a seed of frustration, anger, love for the patient. You push it down. But the good news is when you push down a seed of anger, it grows stronger. You feel it more, and then the audience feels it more. I don't think you were yanking it up to show it to us, but I did want to share that with you, okay?
Yes, thank you so
Beautiful
much.
word.
Really
Yeah,
helpful.
of course. Oh, I'm glad you say that. Okay, up next we have Brett. And hi, how are ya?
Hi.
What scene are you doing? I don't remember.
Oh, medium Justin.
Okay. Now, Medium is an hour-long drama, and Justin is, my understanding, works as sort of helping this politician get reelected. Is that true?
That's right.
Yeah. And it says that Justin's alone in the conference room, his feet up on the table, and the phone crooked to his ear.
Mm-hmm.
And you begin the scene, so I'll just let you, whenever you're ready to begin, go ahead and begin.
Like I don't really care what the polls say, Tom. Manuel Davalos is going to be the next mayor of Phoenix, and you can either get on board with that or you can miss the boat completely. It's your call.
Justin, word?
That's not a number I call getting on board, Tom. You're going to have to dig a little deeper.
Justin.
All right, think about it. I'll call you back. Is everything all right?
Well, I'm not sure. Did you ask Bridget Dubois to see if she can find us information we can use against Duncan?
Sure, she's not an employee of the DA, right?
No, but she's a 12-year-old girl, and I spent 20 minutes on the phone with her father who's wondering why someone from my campaign would ask her to do something so underhanded.
Did she see something?
That's not the point, Justin. I need to know that you understand that nothing like this can ever happen again.
You know what, Manny? I'm beginning to think that maybe I'm wasting my time here. Because you know what I'd like to know? I'd like to know that you want to be the next mayor of Phoenix. You're mad that I asked a kid for help? Fine, I won't do it again. I'm sorry I offended your delicate sensibilities. But these are the latest flash polls. You're now trailing Duncan by 10 points. And look, you're doing it nobly, right? I'll give you that. But that's a double-digit deficit. If that little girl can help us by telling us something, and you come in here.
Sorry, I'm going to stop there. Good. Yeah. Very good work. What was your experience with that? Anything come up you don't care for? Anything your vulture was saying?
Well, I mean, there's just like a loud, you're not prepared enough vulture happening right now, but.
Anything
but
else?
Going with it. That's the loudest. I'm sure there's some other quieter ones happening.
What do you think they maybe were? What were some guesses? Or maybe not.
There's always like, you're not interesting enough. You're not making interesting enough choices. It's not there. You're okay. Yeah, that's one.
Anything else come to mind?
Those are the two that I'm hearing
okay.
the most.
Well, your vulture always wants to put the scene way over there so that you can't, what's called get to it is what your brain thinks you need to do when you say the scene is over there. But you see, as soon as you put the scene over there, you're screwed because your vulture won't let you get there but 1 in 100 times. And that's what the whole concept of you're not prepared enough is doing. It's saying you can't do the scene because you're not over there. And that's why my affirmation, which is I'm going to take it from where I am, is so important. However I'm feeling, however prepared I am is a fine place to begin this scene because I learned very quickly in LA it was not the jobs that I worked hard on that I booked. It was the ones I had no time to work on because the way I was preparing back then was all about pre-planning and taking out the spontaneity, right? But the interesting thing is, again, your vulture isn't saying the truth. Your vulture is saying what it knows you'll listen to. And has the thought, you're not prepared enough, ever made you more prepared? No, of course not. Um, so it's like you say to your vulture, look, I can't be more prepared. This is how much prepared I am. And if I'm mad at myself because I think I should have prepared more, then I forgive myself unconditionally. I'm a good person and good people make mistakes. And I was meant to only prepare this much. When your vulture says you're not prepared enough, is he talking about rehearsing or the line memorization or anything in particular, or just a general not prepared?
It's a general not prepared. It's kind of encompasses a bunch of things. Like,
Okay, well, look, we
yeah,
all want to remember the lines and we want to remember them word perfectly.
sure.
But the interesting thing is that, and your brain is a supercomputer when your heart's racing. So it remembers things you didn't even know you had memorized, unless your vulture's saying you're not prepared with these lines and you don't know them, because then your brain can't even think straight. So, but the great thing about my affirmations is when you say, I want to know the words perfectly, but I release and destroy my need to know these words, fuck the words. Your vulture shuts up, the pressure comes off, and all of a sudden you end up what? Remembering all the words. That's the amazing thing about getting your vulture to shut up. So it's really just trying to get you to forget the words too when it says shit like that.
Yeah.
But also, not only should you be okay with not knowing them word perfect, but you should hope you forget your line. Because the moment you forget your line and have to think about your next line is the best moment of your audition. Because what could be more real than a human standing in front of another human trying to think what to say? Because every scene you're ever going to do in your life is a scene about a man who doesn't know what he's going to say. But we turn every scene into a scene about a man who knows everything he's going to say, and we wonder why we didn't book it. So to illustrate, here's the first two Hamlet lines. I say the first, but I forget the second. Most people go, to be or not to be? That is the question. Wouldn't it be great if they forgot it and went, to be or not to be? That's the question. You know? That's fucking powerful. And the reason why you can stay up and take all the time you want to remember the line is that when your heart's racing, time speeds up. So what feels like 10 seconds of dead air, really like 1 second has gone by. And the whole time that time is there, you should be thinking, while you're thinking of your next line, you should have the knowledge in your belly, ooh, they're projecting fascinating things on me right now, right?
I love
Then,
that.
yeah. So I noticed that when you got to the big paragraph, you got what's called paragraph panic.
Yep.
Don't do that. Know that it's fine if your character sits there for a moment and tries to think of what to say, because I tell you, he did not expect his boss to walk in and say this bullshit.
Right.
So if there ever was a scene about somebody who doesn't know what to say, it's this one. So you don't, they're watching you with an editor's eye. They know that the editor takes out those silences, not the actor. You're not here to show what it'll look like. You're here to do the ninth take. Then you said your vulture said you're not interesting. Listen, your vulture at a drama audition wants you to make choices and muscle moments because they will never bring you back if you do. So of course it's going to say something like you're not interesting enough. And then what do you do? You'll start muscling the scene or making choices. They're essentially the same thing. So release and destroy your need to be interesting, and know that because you are human, you share everything in common with every human that has lived. Abraham Lincoln, soldiers in the Civil War, right? You're fucking interesting. You're enough. Unless you think you're not, then you layer in front of yourselves a thin layer of idea of character and scene, and then you really aren't anything because we can't see the real person through that dead gift of what they thought the scene and character looks like. So again, it was a very good scene, very good until you got line anxiety. And again, what would happen is they'd go, I like this guy, but not this part. We'll keep bringing it back till something else comes. And I want them to go, oh, he's got to be one of the five guys, you know? And they don't know it's because your vulture started squawking about the lines. It wasn't a bad audition in any way. I just think that I would have loved if you had not given a shit about these lines, because this is a character who doesn't give a shit about what other people think, right? So when you start worrying about getting anything about to take care of the audience, like keep the scene moving, get it, the words perfect, this or that, it just takes you away from his circumstances, which is someone who doesn't care. So give yourself permission to fucking hate us. Put it in your belly. It will affect the scene in ways you don't even need to understand. We're going to take it from me saying, why I want to know, because I love the first page. She's a 12-year-old girl, and I want to know why someone in our campaign would ask her to do something so underhanded. And I want you to please put away the script. You're not allowed to look at it this time, so we can see what it looks like for you to try to remember lines. And when you don't, and you leave a silence because you have no fucking idea what the next line is, eventually, if you can't remember the line, paraphrase your way. Did you know you're allowed to paraphrase at an audition? Did you know that? Oh yeah, you're allowed to paraphrase. I've booked many large roles paraphrasing, but here's the line. I memorize it word perfectly. I want to say it word perfectly, but once I'm in the room auditioning, I don't want to say it word perfectly. As long as I want to say a word perfectly in the room, I'll never over paraphrase. Did I go away?
Again.
What happened?
Yeah, say that again because you had a little pause.
I said, as long as you go in the room wanting to say a word perfectly, but not needing to, you'll never over paraphrase. You are allowed to paraphrase. In other words, to change a word here or there. You are not allowed to change the idea of a line. That's called over paraphrasing. Okay?
Okay.
So we're going to do it from that line I told you. I'm going to talk to you just for a moment so you can remember how you really think and communicate, and you'll bring that right into the scene. Go further down the road of not making any choices than you ever have, and instead, and more importantly, just allow choice to happen to you. The words you'll just throw away. They'll be colored by something bigger. They'll have faith you have his thoughts. Hope that we feel so fucking uncomfortable watching it, and so you're not going to take care of it at all. And it's the 9th take. The director said, I love what you did. I'm using it. I'm never even going to look at this take, so I don't care. This one's for you. Take all the time you want. You have permission to do it badly. Just behave as if it's really happening. You want to surprise yourself. When you were younger, what was the name of the middle school you went to?
Marshall Middle School.
And when you were young, was there a class that was easy for you?
Choir.
And that was pretty much a blow-off class. Was the teacher nice?
Yeah.
Was there a teacher you hated, not because they were a bully, because they were stupid or the class was fucking boring?
Oh, shit.
Or a class that was just boring?
I mean, a lot of them.
Okay, what's one that you were really over?
I hated all math, algebra, math.
They want to know why somebody from our campaign would ask her to do something so underhanded.
Did she see something?
That's not the point. Justin, I need to know that you understand that nothing like this can ever happen again.
You know what, Manny? I'm actually wondering if I'm working a little too hard here, because I'm not really sure you want to be the mayor of Phoenix. These polls that just came out are so low. You're in a 2-digit deficit, and I'm over here busting my ass, and you're telling me that if this little girl can help us, that's not okay? Man, I'm tired of bailing you out right now. You are sinking. That's my paraphrase.
Are we at the end?
Okay. I mean, I totally made it up.
I didn't think so. Anyway, okay, so good. So how did that feel? By the way, that was a much better audition in that second half, in my book.
Thanks. It felt more real, yeah.
Well, it doesn't need to be real.
You know what I mean.
Let me give you what you're trying to say, in my opinion, is that time I felt more as if I was, that time I felt more like I was behaving as if it was really happening.
Yes.
That's the goal. That's acting. That's the definition of acting. Mm-hmm. What are actors doing when they're not doing that? Well, they're behaving like an actor with a great responsibility to show what the scene will look like in the finished product, which was the pressure you put on yourself there.
Well, can I ask you 2 questions? Because it's technical things that get in my head, and that's probably the vulture as well.
Go on.
And it's on TV. It's all about pace, right? You get those notes about pace.
No. Stop. Any casting director workshop, any class that talks about a result-oriented concept like pace, a quality or result-oriented concept is a bad class. No result-oriented concept will ever help you to more behave as if it's really happening. So whenever you hear a result-oriented concept or quality, like the word pace, that means your vulture is squawking. So it's an illusion, so you can ignore it. So I'm not going to address that except to again say the editor creates pacing. And worst case scenario, that the casting director looks at your audition and goes, wow, I like this guy. Hey, could you do it again and pick up the pace? Guess what? She liked you. But here's what every actor does when they go into an audition. La, 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 and then the casting director is like, was he good? I can't even tell. Next. Okay? So every audition, even sitcom, you've got to tell your vulture, I can take all the time I want. Time speeds up when I act. So please, When you memorize, focus on the meaning of the words, or what I call the idea of the line, so that you understand the line, so that you can paraphrase. It was hard for you to paraphrase today, and it may be because when you're memorizing, you're not focusing on the meaning of the words. Or it may be that when you're memorizing, you think, and I've got to say it word perfect, which makes your brain unable to take in the words.
That's what it is, yeah.
Great work.
Thank you, Jag.
Thank you so much. Yeah, of course. My next up is Wendy, who is one of my LA peeps. And it's great to see you. And Wendy, thank you again for inspiring me to move my workshop online. And we're making bunches of money for the wonderful cause because of you.
Yes,
So,
I'm glad I've done something useful. I missed you, Jack.
Wendy's like, do your
missed you.
class online. I miss you. It's great to see
Yeah.
you. I have to admit, you're really blurry, and that's probably your Wi-Fi connection, or you may be set not on a high def, but instead on like the lowest definition. But the thing is, I see you, and oh, you're getting even better. Why are you getting so better? That's better.
Because I'm staying still.
Well, don't worry about it, because if you're a little blurry, it doesn't affect our ability to work on this.
Right.
So anyway, you are doing what scene? Is it?
From
see it.
NCSI.
Yes.
Your
And is this an audition you had, or is this an audition you had, or just something you found somewhere?
It wasn't the thing I used for an audition, but it was one of the sides that they gave me, so I learned it for this class.
Oh, in some other class?
No, it was an audition, but I didn't use this particular scene.
I see.
It was the NCSI that everybody was doing.
Yes, and did they give you a description of the character, or did they just give you the sides?
They just gave me the sides. You're basically interrogating me. I am a sailor's wife who has died, and his friend has gone around injuring and killing people, and they want to know if I've seen him. Okay.
Do you want to start at the beginning or the middle? Where do you want to start? It's because I don't think we'll get through all 3 pages, so we might.
It's 2 pages. Let's just start from the beginning. So I'm in an interrogation room, and you've slapped a file.
Oh, I was thinking of a different scene. Okay, so yeah, it says that we're in an interrogation room, and we're about to start. I have the first line, so are you ready? Okay, it says that we're in an interrogation room. It says that it moves around to my side of the table and slaps a file folder down in front of Joanne, and here we go. Open it.
Agent Gibbs, please.
Open it.
I do not need to see more pictures of injured sailors.
When was the last time you saw him? And don't say your husband's funeral.
I know he did some horrible things, but he also supported us when my husband needed it.
Do you have any contact with Harper Deering less than a week ago?
It's possible. I can't remember. I think.
Did you?
Yes. The flag from Evan's funeral. Harper couldn't bring himself to take it home. It was too painful. We said that we'd keep it safe for him. A few days after Harper was reported dead, I came home sick from work, and there he was. He was just standing in the middle of my living room. He was holding Evan's flag. That's what he came for. He didn't think I'd be home.
He paid you to keep quiet?
I didn't know how he faked his death, and I certainly didn't know that Lawrence was involved. Look, I'm finding it hard to make ends meet at the moment. I needed the money.
Okay, good. Let's stop there. You're awfully blurry, but I heard you. Well, it's about, I think maybe there's a way to set your camera at a higher definition. There you go. You're much less blurry now just because you're closer. But I'm not troubled by the fact that you're blurry. I'm just letting you know that's what's happening on this side. So anyway, What was your experience of that? Anything come up you don't care for? Anything your vulture was saying?
Don't look at the camera. Don't look at yourself on camera. That's all he was saying. And don't push it. Don't rush it. Don't rush it.
But these both sound like loving thoughts. These are loving thoughts. You don't have to rush it. I mean, the thing is, it's possible that what your vulture is doing is it's taking the things that you know you should say to your vulture, the things that essentially you're saying to your inner child, hey, take all the time you want. And, you know, but sometimes our vulture will take the loving thoughts, but say them in a cruel sort of, maybe one of our parents only spoke to us with anger. So the vulture is like, hey, don't rush it. Jack, make Jack happy by not rushing it. So if you're going to say a loving thought to yourself, make sure you're saying it in a loving way. Do you think that your vulture was kind of using, kind of tricking you and thinking, well, you can be result oriented with Jack's loving thoughts?
I think that's pretty accurate. I think I do say the right thing to myself, but in the wrong tone.
Good. Then practice during the daytime when your vulture squawks, answering him, her, with a loving thought in a loving tone. Because when you speak to your vulture, you're putting an arm around your inner child. Because when your vulture squawks at you, she's basically kicking your inner child in the stomach. Okay, so anyway, when it comes, you know, also if you feel like, oh, you mustn't rush. Just so you know, when it comes to words, I always say throw them away. They're going to tumble out of your face, and that means there might be moments of a scene where words just tumble all out, and then there might be a moment where there's like a 5-second gap of silence. That's called real life. So don't get too tied up in, well, here's the answer to how to make the scene look for the audition. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It'll look the way it's meant to look that time, because our job at an audition isn't to go in there and show them the way the scene will look. It's to go in there and discover in front of them one of the many ways the scene could look. Was there anything else you want to share about your experience, either good or bad? Anything your vulture was saying or anything that felt particularly good?
Since I've been taking your workshops, I've just found it so much easier. So much easier.
Repeat yourself because we lost you.
Since I've been taking your workshops, I've just been finding everything so much easier.
Well, if you're saying that, what it means is that your vulture isn't getting away with saying all the stuff she used to get away with, and I'm thrilled to hear that. And again, I thought, you know, you keep coming in and giving beautiful performances, and I thought this was a lovely drama audition. However, I do feel just a little bit that, see, whenever it kind of feels like the scene is not changing, in other words, like when it just keeps being the same thing, it's usually because an actor is looking for an answer to the scene. It's like, hey, if I keep doing this, I won't get in trouble. And the thing is that you never want to look for an answer to the scene, because the scene, just like life, is always changing. And I'm not saying you were definitely doing this, and again, it was a little blurry, but I did kind of feel like you could make sure I want to do the second page again, but I really want you to break down the walls that you feel constrict you. So you're not going to see the scene as a series of lines you have to get through, but instead as a series of improvs you're going to do. And we're going to start at the improv where I say, did you have contact with Harper? And you say, it's possible, I can't remember. So it's an improv about being asked something that you don't want to have to talk about, and that you're right. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, you know, it's like, this is basically the way other teachers talk about a concept that they call beat. And I never use that word. It would make me feel like I'm in an acting class. But, you know, there's something really happening in that moment, and it's a literal circumstance, and you're doing an improv about that. But anyway, I want you to know, like, we saw that. So now this time the director says, well, now just this one's for you. It's a sandbox you're playing in. Anything can happen. These are just the words. But a scene is not about the words. It's about what's happening in the scene. That's why we throw the words away. It's the thoughts, feelings that matter. And you don't really have to have our thoughts and feelings. You're not an actress. You're just here to be you and enjoy playing in the circumstances. I want you to take it from where you are, however you're feeling, however prepared you are, is a fine place to begin the scene. And if I was you, I'd be thinking right now, I don't feel like doing this again. In a way, don't you always kind of not want to do a scene in a way? Well, guess what? She doesn't want to be here doing this. So just take it from where you are. You don't have to want to do this scene. She doesn't want to be here. So fuck it, right? You don't have to make any choices. The words you'll throw away. I hope they feel so fucking uncomfortable watching this. And here we go. Did you have contact with Harper Deering less than a week ago?
It's possible. I can't remember. I
Did
think I might
you?
have seen him. Yes. The flag from Evan's funeral. Harper couldn't bring himself to take it home. It was too painful. We said that we'd keep it safe for him. A few days after Harper was reported dead, I came home from work sick. And there he was, just standing in the middle of my living room.
I'm going to take it from, yes, the flag from Evan's funeral. I want you to let go of any way you ever thought to say this. And we're going to talk about your life so you can remember how you really think and communicate. Did you have a friend in high school or college that you never saw again and you miss?
Yes.
Where was the last time you saw this person? Even if it's not literal, where do you see this person's face the last time you saw them?
Sitting on the bench in playtime, eating a...
And whose fault is it that you never saw this person again?
We moved away.
How did it make you feel in that moment? Where were you when you found out?
I didn't really
We're starting from me
understand.
shouting at you. Did you see
Yes.
him?
Yes. It's possible. I can't remember.
Did you?
I think yes. The flag from Evan's funeral. Harper couldn't bring himself to take it home. We said that we would keep it safe for him. A few days after Harper was reported dead.
Okay, good. You know, I think you're doing beautiful work. I talk in a bit of a shorthand with you because we've worked together so much. I would just say that it feels like you're very much attached to a way to say this line, the flag from Evan's funeral, Harper, this whole thing here, because it's always coming out the same every time. And that has to do, in my guess, how you prepared, how you memorized. Do you feel like you memorized just focusing on the meaning of the lines, or is it possible that you heard line readings while you were memorizing?
Oh, line readings. It's really hard because I find that if I do the emotion, I remember the line better. But then
Okay,
it's really
stop.
hard.
You're doing yourself a great disservice, Wendy. When I'm auditioning for a drama, I never say the words out loud the way I might say them in the audition until I'm doing the audition in front of the producers. That's a gift we give ourselves because your auditions become 100% spontaneous by definition. You don't have to pretend you haven't said the lines like this. You never have, right? So what is happening is you keep dropping into a groove you've created by running line readings in your head. And please, do not listen to your vulture when it says the only way you can memorize is to do the emotion. It is a lie to you, and it actually makes it harder to memorize because it means you're not focusing solely on the literal thing you're memorizing, the meaning of the words. When you're memorizing the meaning of the line, the idea of the line, the literal words, when you're focusing on what they mean, it's as if you're absorbing the line in your belly and you own it. And you could paraphrase if you have to. Because that first line, the flag from Evan's funeral, Harper couldn't bring, none of what you're saying is about that. It's about this secret that you've been hiding, that you've been pushing down, which is that you bumped into him in your fucking home, right? But you think you know what the scene is, but you don't until you're doing it, because that's when your heart's racing. That's when you become a partner in your performance with your higher power or racing heart. And then all of a sudden you get the scene better than you ever could have while you were sitting in your apartment memorizing. So anyway, beautiful work, but please let go of this vulture squawk about your preparation is too, Because you got chained up with those line readings, and then you weren't free to behave as if it's really happening because the character doesn't know how she's going to say it, and so you take yourself away from her circumstances if you're worried about the words, how to say them, you know. But again, because it's what you don't do that books the job, and because you weren't involved in all the things actresses get involved with, like muscling the scene and making choices and coloring words, you gave a very lovely audition. But Was it that fun for you? No, because you were never able to be surprised by a thought or image in that section where things start to get real delicious because you kind of were in a groove. Would you agree? Oh, okay. Because I don't want to put words in your mouth, but does that sound about kind of right?
Kind of, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I hope I don't do it through the whole thing, only in places.
What?
What?
You didn't do that for the whole thing, but you did it in places. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay, I understand. And that's just paragraph panic. Don't look at a whole bunch of words and think, oh shit, you know? Because again, you can take all the time you want while saying them, you know? That's why you could rush through one line and then have what feels like a big chasm while you're trying to remember the next one. And worst case scenario, tell yourself, look, I'm just going to memorize. If I don't have time, just be selfish about what you memorize. Memorize the first line and the last line and then read the middle. Okay, I have to go now, though. Great work, Wendy. Good to see you. Up next is Greg.
Thank you.
Hi, Greg. So how are you? Hello.
Good. How are you?
Good. What scene are you doing? Dan Nobler?
Dan Nobler.
Okay. This is an hour-long drama, and Dan is being approached by some men from a crime lab, and it says that a car pulls up and Dan Nobler gets out. So since you have the first line, I'm going to let you start. So whenever you're ready.
Great. Thanks. Can I help you?
You Dan Nobler?
Yeah.
We're from the crime lab. We need to ask you a few questions.
Look, if this is about my business, save it for my attorney.
No, actually, we're here to talk to you about a Mr. Hayden Bradford. You sent him some threatening emails.
Bradford's a lying son of a bitch.
Care to elaborate?
Look, I run an online gambling business. Bradford had an account and borrowed $10,000 in money and never paid it back.
Isn't it true, though, with gambling, you have to submit a credit card prior to gambling to cover your losses?
Yeah, that's true. And when Brad was winning, it worked. But as soon as his luck changed, it didn't. Brad called his credit card company and said the charges were fraudulent, and the credit card company reversed the charges and screwed me.
Okay, good. I'm going to stop you there. So good. So what was, do you want to sit or do you prefer to stand?
I was standing for this.
Oh, yeah, then we'll just stay standing.
Yeah.
Good. Did anything come up you don't care for? Was there anything your vulture was squawking about while you were doing the scene?
Yeah, well, like, what's the line? What's the line? That's not the line. What's the line? What's next?
Yeah, it's funny because our job as actors is to not know what our next line is, and then it's our turn to talk, and then we have to receive the next line.
Yeah.
And what your vulture does is it wants you to not be able to receive your next line, so it starts screaming at us while we're in that magical moment when we receive the next line. See, the brilliant British actress Glenda Jackson says she memorizes her lines, then puts them out of her head so she's forced to remember them in the moment she needs them, just like real life.
Yeah.
You know? And if in that silent moment when they say their line and then it's your turn to react and then remember your next line, you've got a vulture saying, "What is the line?" You can't remember the line. So just tell your vulture, I release and destroy my need to keep the scene moving. I release and destroy my need to know the line. Amber, but I hope everybody's kids are okay. So I release and destroy my need to know the lines word perfectly. I don't, stuff like that. And then your vulture won't go, what is the line? What is the line?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So again, you've got all the time in the world to remember your line, because when you're acting, time speeds up. So it feels like 5 seconds of dead air. Really, just only 1 second has gone by. And if you have to look away and think or stutter, isn't that real human behavior?
Yeah.
Because this is a scene about somebody who doesn't know what he's going to say. So you should hope you forget your line. Because the moment that you don't know your line and you go, is the best moment of your audition. Because what could be more, quote, real than a human thinking of what to say? Right? Anything else your vulture was saying?
Well, once I started forgetting the lines, then it was like, well, that was fake. That wasn't right. Then it was just the critical, like.
So your vulture isn't saying the truth. It's saying what it knows you'll listen to. And currently you have a concept where fake is a bad thing when the truth is acting's fake. So read my chapter called The Trap of Making It Real, so you can release and destroy your need to not be fake. It is fake. Of course it's fake. The walls are never going to melt and you're going to be outside with some cops. You have faith you're coming out of your car. You have faith you're walking to your house. You behave as if you're being approached by cops. Then your vulture said, well, that was fake. And then your vulture said, what? And now I forget the second thing. Well, that was fake.
That was wrong. That was.
There's no right way to do a scene.
Yeah.
You should hope that you're surprised by how the scene comes out, because that's every actor's goal should be, all I want to do is be surprised, because you can't fake spontaneity. You can't. And it's every time something surprises you, the actor, there's an electric jolt of spontaneity in the air, and everyone in the room feels it. And the more of those you have, the better chance you have of booking the job. So you drive home going, oh my God, that was so exciting. I didn't expect to say that line like that, or to feel that, or to cry there. But we're trained to drive home going, okay, well, I did it how I planned. I hope they liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you from theater?
I mean, I was theater trained, but.
Okay, well, I want to give you the secret to film acting, and this was not a big deal. I thought that was a very nice audition, but I did think that it's a good thing for people who are trained in theater to remind themselves this. Theater acting is harder. Film acting is much easier. And the way to adjust is to just remind yourself, okay, just for this room, not for 10 rows beyond this wall, not for even 1 row beyond this wall. In other words, real life, because in theater, we do an extra thing where we project our experience outwards, however many rows there are. And you don't have to do that in film. And the good news is all day long, 99.9% of your life, you're in rooms talking to people. So this is just more of the same. This is easier than theater acting.
Yeah.
So I want to do an exercise that I love because it gets rid of the moment when the scene begins and you're under pressure to act. I'll be talking to you about your life. This is a selfish exercise for you to remember how you really think and communicate. So what did you have for breakfast today?
I had a yogurt.
Good. And you're going to be remembering how you think and communicate. In the middle of us talking, I'm going to say start the scene, and I want you to just jump right in, but without looking at the script, please. But I want you to bring right with you into the scene how you really think and communicate so that I can't tell the scene even began. And to do that, you really want to let go of any way you ever thought to say these lines, because we already saw that anyway. So just say, well, we'll just see how it comes out.
Yeah.
What was the name of the middle school or high school you went to?
Forest Hills Elementary School, and I went to Lake Oswego Junior High School.
Did you have a class that bored you didn't like?
Yeah, pre-calculus in high school. It was pretty boring. I liked math up until that point, and then it sucked.
How did it feel to have to be in that class?
Like I was wasting my time.
Was there a teacher that was cruel or mean, or that you just didn't like because they were dumb? Or
Yeah, my guitar teacher he was just an asshole.
He was a fucking asshole, and that's so unfair too, because guitar is like an art.
It's something I was hoping I would really enjoy. Yeah.
And how would that feel to have to be trained by him?
It felt shitty. It made me avoid,
Start the scene.
Can I help you?
Yeah, you Dan Nobler?
Yeah.
We're from the crime lab. We need to ask you a few questions.
Look, if it's about my business, save it for my attorney.
No, actually, we're here to talk to you about a Mr. Hayden Bradford. You sent him a threatening email.
Hayden Bradford's a lying son of a bitch.
Care to elaborate?
Yeah, I run an online gambling business. Bradford borrowed $10,000 and never paid it.
Yeah, but don't you have to get a credit card to insure losses?
That's true. And when he was winning, it wasn't a problem. But when he wasn't, he called his credit card company and had the charges reversed. I got screwed.
And is that when you decided to hunt him down?
I sent him an email. I'm sorry. I meant to scare him. If I write an apology, can we drop this?
No, Mr. Noble, I'm sorry, you can't, because Mr. Bradford's dead.
Any more questions? Save it for
Okay, good. So was that easier than the first time or harder?
Well, it's definitely easier.
Was it more fun or less fun?
I would say it was more fun. I felt way less pressure.
That's the great thing about this acting workshop is whenever actors have a beautiful adjustment, and that was a terrific drum audition. They always say it was easier and more fun. So I guess acting's easier and more fun than you thought.
Yeah.
And if it's better and it's easier, that means it's not better because we worked on it at all, or that you learned some new technique. It actually means it's better because you stopped being involved in things you don't need to be involved in, which was anything your vulture was squawking about the first time, because that time you had no vulture squawking, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And
Oh.
you know, I feel a lot
Well,
of pressure in like
Wait, hold on. Here's how easy acting is. Then next time you act, just tell your vulture, no, whatever you're saying, I release and destroy my need for. And then you'll do what you just did so easily and so well. Because pressure is a feeling. Every feeling is caused by a thought. Pressure is a negative feeling, so that means it's caused by your vulture squawking. So what you're about to tell me is that normally at auditions, your vulture squawking a lot. To which I go, well, all I do is talk about, you must get control of your thoughts, get control of your vulture, because the acting part's easy. But your vulture's as smart as you are. There's like a million things he could say, but in the end, that's the only thing going wrong when you act, is that your vulture could squawk. So go on, what were you about to say?
Just in auditions, you know, you want to like craft all these moments, like your moment before.
Please don't. Please don't. I don't. That's not how I see it. If in the end you've crafted something, then it's something you, in my opinion, you discover in the room in front of them.
Yeah.
Because acting is an art that happens while we're acting. Not the night before when we're huddled over a piece of paper making notes about actions, beats, objectives, and pre-planned thoughts. That's not acting. I don't know what that is. I don't do it. I don't do it. I don't know why anyone would. I do two things. I memorize and I do my scene comprehension. Then I walk into the room and I play and I book work all the fucking time. And I love acting. And I do the 9th take. I only have a 9th take. So when I arrive on the set of a movie, my first take is as if it's the 9th take, where he already has it and now I'm just playing. So I understand your desire to do a good job, and it's okay to want to do a beautiful job, but a human can't create perfection. And if you try, you can only ever create about a 5 out of 10. But if you let something bigger than yourself, your higher power or your racing heart, then you could create something that is a 10 out of a 10. So release and destroy your need to be perfect, because life isn't perfect. So you can't behave as if it's really happening if you're involved in trying to be perfect, right? And yeah. That was a beautiful scene. You know, I felt you really muscled that last line for some reason, because everything up until then was just absolutely beautiful. When you said, when I told you the bad news, I think it had to do with you kind of going back to some thought you had about how to do it.
Yeah, well, I thought like, well, it's got to be I've gotten notes in acting classes. I think Leah said this, like your stakes aren't high enough. I've gotten that note too.
Well, you know what? Get out of all classes, because most teachers are really bad. Yeah. Now, here's the healthy way to say maybe what that teacher is going for when they talk about stakes. Maybe the healthy way to say is, you know what? You got to want to feel. You have to want to feel, because acting runs on emotion. So they're not going to feel it, and if you don't. And what might you feel in a scene like this? Disgust, anger, frustration. I mean, this is not a pleasant man, right? Yeah. But remember, the character doesn't want to go around yelling at people, which is what you were going for the first time you did the scene, which made it hard to behave as if it's really happening. So sure, the second time you did the scene, do I wish you had been surprised by more thoughts or images that could create a feeling of frustration or anger in you? Hell yeah. But it was a great audition, because now you're behaving as if it's really happening. Cool.
So when you get like, yeah, but so I'm just thinking, because I get feedback. Well, that was nice, but I really want to see more feeling. Like, what do you do?
What a good acting, huh? Well, all a good teacher should say to you is, hey, remember, the actor must want to feel. Read my chapter called The Emotional Auditions.
Yeah, I've read your whole book, but I can reread the chapter.
No, reread the chapter, and that'll give you the language to use yourself, because I have to move on now. But again, that was wonderful. Audition, but in terms of scene comprehension, I think you could have wanted to feel more anger, but remember, the character doesn't, so you push it down. Don't pull it up and show it, because some teacher said they wanted to, quote, see it. You don't see emotion. The audience feels your anger. is the healthy way to look at it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great work.
Thanks.
Yeah. Okay, so up next is what's your name? Diane, is it right?
Yes.
Diane.
Yeah. Hi.
Hi. How are you?
That's good. I was very stressed out before. I saw early this morning your link and then saw the numbers. And I thought, oh, it's Zoom. I didn't realize it was this. So when I came on, I was trying every which way. That's why I was even late getting on. I don't know if you were talking before about the vulture and all that, because I finally said, okay, let me try. I've never used my phone before, and it went on my phone. So hello, nice to meet you.
Welcome. Well, the good news is nothing have said in this workshop so far even matters, because you're going to be approaching this as if you're auditioning for this role, and we're going to deal with what comes up for you, not some technique that I think I'm teaching about how to act, because acting is just playing pretend. I don't teach acting as much as help actors get out of their own way so they can enjoy how easy acting is.
Right. Yeah. You said a lot of things that go against everything I keep hearing in any classes and intensives that I take about crafting and where is this person and where is that person, and and setting the scene in your head. So
I guess what I'd say is, how many movies and TV shows have those teachers starred in? Because I've been in a lot of them, and I'm on the set, so it's possible I know more than them.
Yeah.
But also there are wonderful teachers out there, wonderful teachers out there. Don't get me wrong, but I do believe that any teacher who doesn't tell you that acting is easier and more fun than you ever imagined is probably a scam artist, because they have to convince you it's harder. You won't keep going to them. And my opinion is the way to grow as an artist is to do your art, not to be in class. However, if you want to do theater, you must take class. But right now, what we're working on is film and television auditions.
Right. Okay, great.
But if you're going to do Shakespeare or musical theater, hell yeah, you got to go to class. It takes tremendous ability to control your instrument for theater. So did they give you a breakdown of the role of Allison?
No, she's just assistant DA working, gets all of these murderers that she has to defend. And
yes. And our characters are talking to you. Who are we? We are people who are prosecuting someone.
Right. You're the head prosecutor and his other guy it's from Law and Order.
Okay. Again, everybody out there, this is an hour-long drama, and you're playing the character Chalmers, and I'm going to start if you're ready.
Yes.
Are you ready? Okay, here we go. Cart before the horse. I won't talk, plead to know the extent of your client's crimes. Berman's DNA matched saliva on both Debbie Gallen and the girl in Brooklyn.
But and two's not good enough for you.
Not when one of them isn't in my jurisdiction. We're still talking to Brooklyn DA about consolidation.
I don't get you people. I'm handing you a murderer on a platter to take the death penalty off the table.
Not good enough.
Am I smelling bloodlust?
How many murders have you defended, Allison?
I don't have that many fingers.
And I'm sure it crossed your mind that Mr. Bauman's MO suggests he might be a serial offender.
Evidence, Jack. You need evidence, not suggestions.
Well, there's a 5-year gap between Debbie and Lucy. Bowman was out on the street all the time. You've gotten to suspect.
Well, you add your suspicions to his suggestions, you've got the makings of a great Gothic tale, not a case.
If he tells us any other murders, I'll re-examine the death penalty. You didn't ask for bail, Allison. You must know.
I know a lot of things. I know, right? I defended a father who raped his 11-year-old daughter and then he killed her. I know I defended a man who, for no apparent reason, walked into a grocery store with an Uzi and shot 12 innocent people. And right now, I'm defending a kid who decapitated his mother and stuck her head on a post outside a church. All the scum of the earth, they throw him my way, and I do the best I can, but this guy.
Okay, good. We're going to stop there. Good. Anything come up you don't care for? Anything your vulture is saying? Your vulture is the voice in your head that says things that make you feel bad or fear or pressure.
I think it was just somewhere near the beginning to remember my line kind of thing.
Well, we all want to remember our lines, but if you need to, it's going to let your vulture say, remember your lines.
Yeah.
So just tell your vulture, look, I want to remember them, but I release and destroy my need to remember them. I can paraphrase, or I could just stay up and wait till they come. Worst case scenario, eventually maybe I'll have to look down. But you screaming in my ear, remember your lines, is not helping me remember the lines. It's putting too much pressure on my brain. So fuck the lines. Then your vulture shuts up and the pressure comes off. And what happens? You remember your lines. That's why my after affirmations work. When you release your need for what you want, that's how to get it. Anything else your vulture was saying?
No, I actually was feeling pretty good as I got into it.
Did anything feel better than usual based on what you're working on here with me? Or was that about how your auditions tend to feel?
I felt a little bit more activated as I was getting into the whole thing about all the people I'm defending. I felt myself getting more emotional about it. I felt like I was just throwing that out there, and I could feel my heart racing a little bit more as I was talking about it.
Okay, and so it was fun to be surprised by those feelings there. That is fun. It is fun to be surprised by things or to receive strong feelings.
Right, yeah.
Is there anything else you want to share about your experience?
Here,
yeah, on that scene right there. Okay, good. So anyway, that was a very nice audition, but it was a very, very nice filmed half-hour comedy audition, not because you were trying to be funny or that you were tickling yourself, but because you were muscling the scene too much. It turned a beautiful drama scene into a very lovely filmed half-hour comedy. Because in a filmed half-hour comedy, you can make some choices and muscle some moments, but other lines you don't make choices. In an hour-long drama, you can't make any choices or muscle any moments. But what I love about what you just did is you did the thing that makes actors hireable, which is the thing that makes us hireable is that we go in and we go, I'm an actor who's able to behave as if it's really happening. And I believe that's only about 20% of actors do it, because all the other actors are just panicked trying to show what the scene will look like. So again, please don't take my comment the wrong way. I don't mean there was anything silly about your performance. It was a beautiful performance. You just were making too many choices and muscling too many moments. And it comes from probably, you've used the language of some other teachers like activated and get into it and feel. And it's, that you can't do that in a film drama because the camera is like this. It sees and feels everything you feel. So that means the camera, they can see a new thought pass behind your eyes. So that means what needs to happen in a drama audition? Maybe a new thought passes behind your eyes. How powerful.
Okay.
But I wasn't booking dramas until I stopped making choices and more importantly, allowed them to happen. But to do that, you've got to trust that if nothing happens, it's better than what you would put there. So to illustrate, you're going to pretend I'm doing a scene and I want you to say the line, Jack, your mom died. I'm going to do nothing and you're going to see how an audience projects upon a blank space. So go ahead and say the line, Jack, your mom died. Go ahead.
Jack, your mom died.
That's pretty powerful stuff, isn't it? It's a lot better than, which you can't even put on film. So once we realize that if nothing happens in the genuine moment of the magical, genuine moment of reaction, if nothing happens, that's better than what we would put there right before it in the panic make a choice spot. I talk all about this there's a video on my YouTube channel and there's a chapter in my book about it. So I'm not saying don't let anything happen. I'm saying don't make choices, but more importantly, allow choices to happen. And I promise they will if you're behaving as if this is really happening. Cool? So we're going to do it again and you're not going to make any choices.
Okay.
Trust me, if nothing happens, it's better than what you would put there. But I want to point something out to you. I've said today, the actor must want to feel, but remember, the character doesn't. So while I love that you wanted to feel strong feelings about all the people you've defended, the character doesn't. So you've got to push it down because it says here, Chalmers, it says beat calmer. It literally uses the word calm, but instead of that, you got yourself all riled up.
Right.
Because you forgot she's not an actress. She's a real person who lives in courtrooms and who is used to pushing down this shit, right? I'm not
Right,
saying it's
right.
not coming up, because the good news is when you push down pain and sadness or fear, it grows stronger. You feel it more, and then the audience feels it more. If you're showing it, the audience doesn't feel anything.
Okay.
We're going to start from me asking you the question that makes you say, I don't have that many fingers. So I'm going to say, how many murders have you defended? But first, I want you to get to talk about your life so you can remember how you really think and communicate. This gets your vulture to shut up, because when you're talking about your life, your vulture isn't going to remember the line. In the middle of us talking, I'm going to start the scene. And without looking at the script, I want you to jump right into the scene, bring right with you into the scene how you really think and communicate, so that I can't tell the scene began. And I want you to let go of any way you ever thought to do the scene, because we already saw that. And instead, you don't have to make choices. The words you just throw away. Hope that we feel so fucking uncomfortable watching you do the scene, and you'll do that by not taking care of it at all. But instead, and only being interested in your experience of behaving as if it's really happening. When you were younger, did you help your parents out with chores?
Oh yeah, I grew up in Brooklyn. And my parents worked, so Saturday morning it was wake up and.
When you were younger, was there a chore you hated to do?
I hated to do the dishes.
How did it feel when you'd be asked to do that? And this, again, you'll just bring right into the scene how you really think and communicate to trick us so we can't even tell the scene began. And when you were younger, did you have a friend who you felt mistreated you?
Yes.
Where were you when this happened?
In high school.
How did that feel when it happened?
I was very intimidated and felt always like I was in the shadow of her, and just wasn't really much, and never looked at or cared about very much.
Did you have a friend other than her that was cruel at some point, hurt your feelings?
Yeah, that was later on after I got
where were
married.
you when that happened?
That was in Connecticut, where I am now. Yeah.
Question. How many murderers have you defended, Allison?
I don't have that many fingers.
But then I'm sure it crossed your mind that he suggests he might be a serial offender.
Evidence, Jack. You need evidence, not suggestions.
There was a 5-year gap, okay? He was on the street that whole time. You've got to suspect.
Well, add your suspicions to his suggestions. You got the makings of a great Gothic tale, not a case.
If he tells us about any other murderers, I'll re-examine the death penalty. You didn't ask for bail, Allison. You must know.
I know a lot of things. I know I defended a father who raped and murdered his 11-year-old daughter. I know I defended a man who, for no apparent reason, walked into a grocery store with an Uzi and shot and killed 12 people. And right now, I'm defending a kid who decapitated his mother and hung her head on a post outside a church. All the scum of the earth they send in my way, and I do my best to defend them. But this guy, are you going to accept my offer or not?
Boy, oh boy. Easier or harder?
No, it was too easy.
Isn't that amazing, everybody? Whenever actors have a beautiful adjustment, and honey, I'm literally crying.
Oh.
It was a stunning audition. They always say it was easier and more fun, because acting is easier and more fun than we thought. And it's better and easier because you stopped worrying about certain things that your vulture was saying the first time, because that time you had no vulture squawking, right? Now listen, everybody out there, all that exercise that I had her do is get your vulture to shut up. But the affirmations do it better than that exercise. The affirmations are a better way to get your vulture to shut up, because you don't have to remind yourself how you really think and communicate. You've been doing it all day. It's just more of the same. What you've got to do at an audition, and especially as you're walking into the audition room, is get control of your vulture by saying the affirmation so she shuts up, so you can allow yourself to do that stunning piece of work you just did. Now, you know the moments that where a thought or an image or a concept surprised you and you had a powerful reaction. That's beautiful acting. That's great acting, is being surprised by a thought or a feeling in front of a rolling camera. And you don't allow yourself to have those gifts if you're filling all the genuine moments of reaction with your panic, make a choice stuff because of some responsibility some teacher gave us. Okay?
No, that's great. That's so freeing. That's so, it's like Yeah.
Listen, acting is fucking easy. It's just really uncomfortable. And you have to learn to get okay with being uncomfortable and not doing things to make yourself comfortable. Because in a drama audition, if you're making yourself comfortable, then the audience feels comfortable. And then that's a boring audition.
Right.
The audience wants to feel wildly uncomfortable. And anything you do to make you or them comfortable hurts your audition. So great work. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's very nice meeting you.
You too. Take care. Up next is is it Kathleen? Are you next?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Hello.
Okay. Hi. How are ya?
I'm good. Thank you for hosting me tonight.
Oh, my pleasure. We're going to be doing, if I'm correct, Jillian Parks.
Yes.
Okay. This is an hour-long drama. Yeah. And she is. It says at Dan Tana's restaurant, which is a kind of like expensive LA restaurant. She runs a trashy gossip magazine, you know that? And she's bumping into, or I guess maybe they plan to meet, she's sitting on a booth across from Sebastian, who she's known for many years. And so whenever, I see I start. So you let me know when you're ready to begin and I'll begin it. No, I'm sorry, you begin it. So whenever you're ready, begin.
Okay. It's nice to see you, Sebastian.
Yeah, great, Jillian. Personal trainer?
Botox.
So Whisper seems to be doing very well.
Oh, scandal's a growth industry. But let's face it, the celebrity legal scene's been a bore since you cleaned up your act.
I'm sorry to let you down.
Cochran's gone, Shapiro's pimping legal websites, and you switch sides. Things just aren't the same.
Spectre was good copy.
How many wacky hair shots can you run? What this town needs is another OJ.
Good. I'm going to stop you there. What was your experience there? Anything that your vulture was squawking? Anything that you didn't care for?
Yeah, I just felt sticky. I felt choppy. I felt like my tongue tied. I couldn't get the words to roll off properly.
And what was your vulture saying? Don't be, you're sticky, don't be sticky. You're choppy, don't be choppy. You're not rolling out the words, roll the words. What was your vulture saying?
Yeah, my vulture usually just says you're just not, worthy.
Is
not good enough to be here.
Today? Is that what she said today?
Yeah.
Okay.
Usually.
I release and destroy my need to feel unworthy. I know that I'm worthy of all the good in life and now lovingly allow myself to accept it. As I repeat this affirmation, my outer effect of procrastination fades away and I no longer feel the need to delay my own good. That's one of my affirmations in my first chapter. And the reason why it's memorized is because I had to say it to myself so many times. So I understand. I release and destroy my need to be worthy to be here. As a matter of fact, I'm not an actress. I'll let the other people here be the actresses. I'm just here to be me and enjoy playing the circumstances. I have permission to hate Jack. Fuck these people. Who gives a fuck what they think? I release and destroy my need not to be choppy. In real life, people are choppy. I release and destroy my need not to stumble on the words. In real life, people stumble on the words. It's not about proving your vulture wrong. It's about getting her to shut up with her result-oriented concerns and cruelty.
Yeah.
So what happens is when our vulture's squawking a bunch of stuff to convince us that your job here today is to show us what the scene will look like in the finished product, it makes acting impossible if you agree that acting instead is behaving as if it's really happening to you for the first time.
Yeah.
So we're going to do the exercise, and I want you to let go of any way you ever thought to say these words.
Okay.
And instead, because we already saw that, didn't we? And instead just say, look, I just want to be surprised by how it comes out, and however it comes out, I'm fine with. And I don't care. Fuck it and fuck them. But we're talking to you about your life just so you can remember how you really think and communicate. And then in the middle of us talking, I'll say start the scene, and without looking at the script, you just bring right into the scene how you really think communicate. So I can't even tell you began the scene. And then we'll just behave as if it's really happening. You should hope you forget your lines and fuck it. And what did you have for lunch today?
Eggs and vegetables.
Where did your family shop when you were a kid?
Oh, favorite store was this place in Hesse called Hesse's Patio.
Why?
They had the best ice cream when I was a kid, and it was grew up in Pennsylvania, so it was like this grand Nordstrom type store in Pennsylvania.
Did you have a place where you felt like really comfortable hanging out, like your bedroom or a park nearby?
Yeah, definitely.
Where was that?
My bedroom and outside.
And who
I'm
was
always
a
at home.
girl from elementary school or a boy, but who was a really good friend that you guys just felt so comfortable around each other in elementary school?
Oh, yes, we're still friends.
Is it? What's her name?
Oh, Colleen.
What's her name? Colleen, what would you guys do to just kill time?
Roller skate, gymnastics,
Start the
cheer.
scene. Start the scene.
It's so good to see you again, Sebastian.
Yeah, good to see you, Jillian. Looking good. Personal trainer?
Botox.
Okay, good, good. I want you to go further in letting go of any concepts you have about the scene because I could tell the scene started. But don't worry, it was so much better. But really, I don't want to know the scene began. So just bring right into the scene exactly how you think and communicate. And this, where did she live in relation to your house, the girl?
Within walking distance, like 5 minutes.
So how did you get there?
Walked or roller skated.
Like what streets did you take? You
4th
remember?
Street.
Uh-huh. And who was another good friend of your guys's?
Christine.
Start the scene. It's good to see you.
It's good to see you again,
Yeah,
Sebastian.
you too, looking good. Personal trainer?
Botox.
Oh. So Whisper seems to be doing pretty damn well.
Yeah, Scandal's a growth industry. But let's face it, the celebrity legal scene's been a bore since you cleaned up your act.
I can tell you the scene has started. We're going to say only because you felt a responsibility to deliver something, but it was so beautiful. And so I'm going to ask you a question that we're going into that line, Scandals of Growth Industry. When you were younger, what was your first job you had? Did you have a job in high school?
That's a tough one. I know I feel, what was my first job? Oh, I had to clean the church rectory.
Uh-huh. So Whisper seems to be doing pretty well.
Yeah, Scandal's a growth industry. The celebrity legal scene's been a bore since you cleaned up your act.
Well, I'm sorry to let you down. I'm sorry to let you down.
Cochran's gone, Shapiro's gone. You switched sides.
Yeah. Well, Spectre was good copy for you, wasn't he?
Yeah, how many wacky hair shots can you run? What this town needs is another
good,
OJ.
good. So by the way, what is getting easier, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right? I know, a lot easier. And did you know that it's getting better and better? You can tell that you're behaving more as if it's really happening, can't you?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah.
I can feel the progression.
Yeah, oh, big time, because you're starting to do some beautiful work. And then what happens is you're behaving as if it's really happening. You're enjoying playing pretend with me. And then you feel like, oh shit, I'm supposed to pick up this responsibility, which is I'm supposed to make choices and deliver lines.
Yeah.
And that's why I always remind myself before every drama audition how I really live my life by saying, I'm not going to make any choices. The lines, I'm going to throw them away. They'll be colored by something bigger than me, and I hope they feel fucking uncomfortable watching this. Because that gets rid of the things that actors start to do that take them away from how they really live their life.
Yeah, it's like dropping in and out. And I
please don't put it that way, because you're always in a scene. Because when you forget your line, it's like the best moment of the scene, as long as you don't break character. So there is no in a scene. You're always in a scene because they can't read your mind. But what happens is whenever an actor says, oh, I felt like I was out of the scene,
yeah.
it means in that moment their vulture was squawking at them. So what you're telling me is it's as if I'm having a good time, behaving as if it's really happening, then my vulture starts squawking. To which I'd say, yeah, I know. The only thing that can go wrong when we act is that your vulture could squawk, but she's as smart as you are, so there's like a million things she could say. So that's why it's so important to get control over her and not fall for the bullshit acting teachers who tell us that there's all these things we're supposed to be concerned about when doing film acting that actually ruin our acting.
I appreciate that.
Because I tell you, every time you did the scene, it was so easy, so joyful. You were shining your light. I got to see who you really are. And then you'd go, oh, wait, I'm supposed to show what the scene looks like. And then it became a bummer for you, so it was a bummer for us.
Yeah, I feel that too. Yeah.
So just keep reading my book, because your thoughts create your reality. I have a reality where acting is really easy and fun, and there's no such thing as failure. I took all my thoughts, I wrote them down in my free ebook. So the more you read my book, the more you'll have my thoughts, the more you'll have my reality where acting's easy and fun, and there's no such thing as failure.
Yeah, and it'll become part of me.
It doesn't have to become part of you. All you have to do is know what to say to your vulture to shut her up.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Thank you,
because
Jack.
I say that because my affirmations work instantly and they take no practice. But the
Yeah.
more you do them, the longer your vulture stays silent. So that's why I wanted to, that's your vulture saying, oh, it's got to become part of you. None of this will work till it's become part of you, because your vulture doesn't want you to change. So it keeps saying, well, you can't really control me.
Okay.
Anyway, beautiful job.
Thank you.
Keep going down that road.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome. And last but not least, oh no, not you. Hello. Who is next? Is it Diane? Who's next? Whose book by the how? Oh, there you are. Hi, how are you? Sorry about that. This is someone who's already gone. Hello there. How you doing? Nice to see you.
Good to see you too, Jack. Thank you for having me.
Am I correct that you're doing Evelyn?
Correct. Yep.
Okay, I love this scene. Evelyn is a drama scene, and it says that we're in a doctor's office. And it says that Andy, the doctor, sits at his desk with a file in front of him, and Evelyn sweeps over his office, soaking it all in. So you have the first line. So, take your time. Whenever you're ready, we're going to begin this scene from a drama.
Okay. Dr. Brown, your office is beautiful. It's remarkable what you've done here, really. I mean, where were you last year when we were building the set for Brigadoon? I really could have used you.
Why don't you sit down, Evelyn?
I'm fine, thanks. Oh, is this your son? Why didn't he audition for the play?
Well, Ephraim saves his theatrical side for our arguments.
Oh, it's too bad. Such a handsome face. He takes after his father, as does your beatific daughter. I mean, both your auditions were just top notch.
Evelyn, I got the lab results on some of the blood work we did.
I think you'll be happy for the role that I selected for you. It really befits your stage presence.
Evelyn, I'm trying to tell you that
I have leukemia, doctor.
You knew?
It's not an impressive guess. It's a dragon I've battled before.
I didn't know.
No one does. Not here in Everwood, anyway. 12 years ago, I was living in New York. My career had just taken off, and I'd been cast as lead opposite Julie Harris in a production at the Lincoln Center when I was diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia. I never went up in the play. Instead, as the disease began to take its toll, I moved here to live with my cousin and finish out my days in peace. And then it happened. You know, I'm not sure how, but little by little, I began to get better. I began to feel well again, and before I knew it, I was in full remission. And that's when my cousin suggested I start to live with the living again, and I decided to direct the winter musical.
Good, let's stop there.
Okay.
What's your experience of that? Anything come up you don't care for? Anything your vulture was saying?
I think when I felt like I was pausing. I was taking too much time, and I felt like when I felt like the vulture was coming in, when I realized I was taking too much time, or was telling me, I was like, speed it up. Not that it was a pacing thing, but it was just like, why are you taking so long to get the words out?
Okay, so again, our vulture isn't saying the truth. It knows what we'll listen to, and our vulture is the half of us that wants us to fail. So you're a vulture. And by the way, everyone's vulture when they act has our vulture wants to go, pick it up, keep it moving. Because if it can say that and you listen to it, doesn't that indeed mean that your job is to come in and show what the scene will look like in the finished product? It does, doesn't it?
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah, and so you would want to say to your vulture, even when doing a sitcom scene where the stakes are really high, oh, no, I'm going to take all the time I want. And then essentially what your vulture is saying is then they'll be uncomfortable. And you go, fuck yeah, they'll be uncomfortable. I hope they feel so fucking uncomfortable. They're supposed to feel so uncomfortable watching this scene that they wish they could leave the room. It's too uncomfortable to watch this moment in this woman's life. And if you're doing anything to make the audience or yourself comfortable, like worrying about the pacing or keeping it moving, it's just going to make you comfortable, and then we're comfortable, and then everybody's comfortable.
Right.
You have to remember that when you act, time speeds up. What feels like 5 seconds of dead air, like 1 second has gone by. So no, you are not taking too long, but you currently have a vulture that you currently listen to your vulture when she says you're taking too long and this is too many pauses.
Right.
So fuck any teacher who ever said that to you. And again, remember the worst case scenarios, they go, we love this girl. Hey, could you do it again and pick up the pace?
Right. Yeah. I heard you say that to which made sense because I think about this all the time.
Okay. So anyway, anything else your vulture said besides you're taking too long?
Not that I can remember, like not that I was paying attention to, right? I've been.
She didn't squawk anything else. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah.
Anything else come up you don't care for?
Honestly, not that I can think of in the moment. It's when if I watch playback is when I can really recognize what had happened. I was just.
Okay. Did anything feel better than usual based on what you're playing with here today with me? Or is that basically how your auditions feel?
Yeah, I think, when I had obviously been going over the material, I was thinking about eye lines and I think when I had thought that she's avoiding you at the top, and then I felt like I connected with you on screen here, and that kind of took me out of what I would have felt talking about this and avoiding this conversation with you, Dr.
Well, it sounds
Brown.
like you just had a moment where you went, oh, I don't want to be looking at Jack. That's fine. We can't read your thoughts. And that really, that doesn't have anything to do with anything because I can't read your thoughts.
Right.
Okay.
What do you think?
I'm curious whether she agrees to get treatment for this, or what happens at the end of the scene. She finds out the leukemia is back, but they don't even ask if she's going to get treatment, or do they?
They don't, but
he does. He says they're going to do bone marrow and they're going to give you treatment, and you don't say no, so we know she's going to be back in treatment. Okay. Okay. So anyway, I thought that was a very nice audition. There was so much lovely about that, really. And then, but I do think we can all go further down the road of not making choices and instead and only allowing them to happen. Because when I go to a drama audition, and by the way, again, it was a lovely audition, but I just felt that you could a little more let go of your control of it. In other words, say, I release in the storm, I need to control this audition. I am not strong enough to. Whenever I try, it doesn't work. So instead, I'll ask my higher power to guide me through it. And however it goes was meant to go, even if it's badly. But I want to reiterate that when I go into a drama audition, because the only way you can book a drama is if you're allowing things to happen instead of making them happen, I don't just say, I'm not going to make choices. I say, I'm going to go further down the road of not making choices than I've ever gone. And more importantly, I'm going to allow choice to happen to me. I'm also going to go further down the road and just throwing away the words than I've ever gone, because this is not a scene about what she's saying. It's a scene about going in to see a doctor when you have a feeling that you know what it is, and that you've been pushing down your fear or sadness that it might come back one day for years. But most importantly, my note for you is good guy syndrome actors, and we all have it to a degree, come in and they go, let me make you all comfortable by taking good care of the scene, and I'll make sure I'm comfortable by keeping it moving and making sure I get it done right. And then what happens is everybody feels comfortable. So I hope that right before a drama audition, you'll say to yourself, I hope they feel so fucking uncomfortable watching me do this. And I'm going to do that by not taking care of it at all, but instead and only being interested in my experience of doing it as if it's really happening to me for the first time, meaning I don't know what he's going to say and I don't know what I'm going to say. And so I hope I forget the words. This is a scene about a woman thinking out loud. This is a scene about a woman who doesn't know what she's going to say. We're going to do the scene again. And listen, at this point, actors think, oh, I'm supposed to want to do the scene again. I wouldn't want to do the scene again. In a way, I kind of never want to have to do a scene, but it's exciting and uncomfortable. So my point is this: she doesn't want to be here, does she? So you don't have to want to do this scene again. I want you to take it from where you are, because everything you're feeling right now, knowing that you have to do this again, is, feeling vulnerable, tense. It's all part of the scene anyway. So just take it from where you are. You're not an actress. You're just here to be you and enjoying the circumstances. And the director says to you, and this is to remind you about the 9th take, the director says to you, because he already has it on film, he says, oh my God, thank you for bringing in all that beautiful stuff. That was perfect, and I have it all on film perfectly, and I'm going to use it. So since we're done, and I'm never going to look at this take, I guess you don't have to do any of that beautiful stuff you did. Gosh, I guess just behave as if it's really happening. Just want to surprise yourself. Oh, take all the time you want, and you have permission to do it badly. I'm never going to look at this take. So here we go.
Oh, Dr. Brown, your office looks beautiful. It's remarkable what you've done here. I mean, where were you last year when we were building the set for Brigadoon? I could have used you.
Why don't you sit down, Evelyn?
Okay. Oh, no. I'm fine. Thanks. Is this your son? Why didn't he audition for the play?
Well, Ephraim says it's theatrical side for our arguments.
Oh, yeah, that's too bad. Oh, I mean, he's a handsome guy, picks after his father. So does your daughter. But both your auditions were top notch, by the way.
I got the lab results on some of the blood work that we did, and I'm very sorry to tell you.
I think you will be pleased with the role that I selected for you for the play. I mean, it just fits your stage presence and everything.
Evelyn, I'm trying to tell you that.
Yeah, that I have leukemia.
You knew?
It's not an impressive guess. It's a dragon I battled before.
I didn't know.
No one knows. Not in Everwood, anyway. Yeah, well, 12 years ago, I was living in New York, and my career had just taken off.
Okay, good. How'd that feel?
Much better, yeah.
Isn't it wonderful to get our vote? See, because I don't think your vulture screams the real loud, mean stuff about how you're a terrible actress, but she whispers the subtle stuff that just makes you feel pressure.
Right.
And she whispers it as if it's true. But I promise you, anything that even feels like pressure or responsibility is a vulture squawk. And it will keep you from having a fucking selfish experience in front of the rolling camera.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like you to do a little bit of one more time, because it's probably my fault of a circumstance I put in your belly, but I do want to remind you, this is what she's going to arrive at is this. I came to Everwood to die and ended up living the best years of my life.
Mm-hmm.
That is not what most people would say when they find out that the leukemia is back. So put that in your belly, throw it away. Evelyn, I got the lab results on some of the blood work we did, and I'm very sorry. But
I have leukemia. Is that what you're going to say?
You knew?
It's not an impressive guess. It's a dragon I battled before.
I didn't know.
No one knows. Not in Everwood, anyway. "12 years ago, I was living in New York. My career had just taken off, and I'd been
Okay, good.
cast.
I'm gonna stop you. Beautiful stuff. This is all beautiful stuff. And now I'm going to share with you my last adjustment, because
Okay.
we're not going to do it again.
Okay.
Have you ever worked with a coach who talks about how you affect your scene partner, how to be active in a scene?
Yes. Yes.
It's not how we live our life, in my opinion. Every scene you'll ever do, almost every scene you'll ever do, is a scene about somebody thinking out loud.
Right.
That's why we don't have to deliver the words or color them, because most of the time we're not really even talking to the person, but thinking out loud, aren't we? That's the reality of life. And it will be hard to have a powerful experience in this scene if you keep feeling that you need to share with me because of a concept in a class. This is very subtle stuff, because what you're doing is beautiful. But I would love for you to have an even more selfish experience, a more uncomfortable experience for me to watch, by you thinking out loud, by you living, by you behaving as if it's really happening, even more by letting go of your responsibility to either share with me or affect me. Because there's a lot of shit happening even in the span of one line. And if you lay a sort of attitude over even one line, you can't get in touch with the moment-to-moment fleeting thoughts, feelings, and impulses that happen in even one line. But in the moment of receiving the news, you have leukemia, and taking it in, if you then think, I can't sit in this, but I've got to now turn this around and deliver something back to my scene partner, that's not really what happens in real life. So it just makes it harder for you to have a powerful experience.
Right,
You
right.
get it?
Yeah.
Now,
looking,
I think if we had the time, what I would do is have you talk about your life so you can remember how you really think and communicate, and then bring that right into the scene. And I think you would find that that responsibility would go away, and it would just, the note would just be taken, because it's really, I'm describing you how you live your life. I'm not giving you a secret to acting. I'm telling you how you live your life, you know? When they're watching a drama, they want to feel like they're pulling a curtain aside and watching something they're not supposed to watch. Right. And because of your little responsibility you feel based on some sort of vulture or teacher talk, you take care of the audience a little too much. And so it doesn't feel what I like to call creepy real. Like, is she acting, or is she still just talking about her? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. In your workshops, when we come back, is this something I can work on again? Or?
Of course you can. It's whatever you'd like to do.
Yeah.
Yep. But when you don't feel like you need to reach out and give people something, what it does is it leaves an empty space. And that empty space, because normally actors are throwing stuff at them and they're leaning back like this. When you don't do that and you leave that empty space, they're pulled into your performance. That's what makes an actor magnetic. And the air is electric, because no one's taking care of the scene, and they're watching something they're not supposed to be watching. And so you trust that you're enough, your experience is enough, want to be surprised by powerful images, thoughts, and concepts, push down the feelings so that it grows stronger. And don't see it as a scene, but as an improv about something that you're going to behave as if it's really fucking happening to you. Right. And again, it was beautiful work. Great job. Those are just my adjustments. And so, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. It all makes sense. It really does. Thank you.
Absolutely. So everybody, that's it for my second online acting workshop. Again, everything I teach, you can read for free on my website at this link. And you can get involved by writing to me at this email address if you'd like to do a scene and you're not on my email list. And if you feel like giving money to the LA Gay and Lesbian Center and the Ali Forney Center because you enjoyed watching or something and you have the money to give, we're raising money for them, and all the proceeds for tonight went to that. And yeah, I guess that's it. So I'll see you guys next time, and this will live on my YouTube channel for a little while. So if you'd like to watch your performance back, you can find it there. Take care, everybody. Have a good night. Stay safe.